Hey everyone, and welcome back to Wealthy Brains. Last month, the famous venture capitalist and inspiring entrepreneur Tim Draper made a prediction that Bitcoin will hit $250,000 by the year of 2022. In 2014, Draper predicted that Bitcoin would be worth $10,000 in 3 years. Sure enough, Bitcoin hit the 10,000 mark, soaring above and beyond this amount to reach an all-time high of 19,783 last December. I didn't want to make any predictions after that for a long time because I wanted to let the dust settle. Yet last month I thought that was a time for another prediction. While introducing my new book, How to Be the Startup Hero, a guide and textbook for entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, Draper told all this in an exclusive interview. Intrigued by Draper's recent prediction and strong interest in cryptocurrency, I sat down with Draper to ask him about his reasoning behind his latest Bitcoin prediction, his new book, and why he believes cryptocurrency will eventually replace fiat currencies completely. How to Be the Startup Hero, you begin with some definitions of what a hero is. We specifically talk about how a hero goes long in crypto. Hodling is a term we use for going long. How does this relate to being a hero? Tim Draper: as a hodler myself, I believe it's important to sacrifice in the short term for the long-term gain. Having a long-term approach to everything goes a long way. From investing to being an entrepreneur to just living your life. A hero takes a long way at a low probability outcome, but the outcome will always be big. In fact, the outcome may or may not happen. In the ICO world, heroes are those who are putting their necks out there to create a new coin or token to transform industries. For instance, ICO heroes are creating a token to transform governments by making them virtual. Wolfson: how did you come up with the number of 250,000 by 2022? Draper: the prediction that led me to come up with 10,000 by 2017 was based on the idea that Bitcoin was going to be easy enough to use in the future and that people would be able to start trading with it and using it as a store of value. That is why I invested in Bitcoin. Now I think people are going to be able to spend cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin in mainstream situations. Cryptocurrencies will eventually replace credit cards and will be something you can access on your phone. I actually think cryptocurrency will replace fiat currencies entirely. For instance, right now there's about 80 trillion worth of fiat currency in the world. I believe that cryptocurrencies will expand that market. I think that cryptocurrencies will eventually grow to maybe 100 trillion, and fiat currencies will be falling from 80 to 30 trillion. I predicted that Bitcoin might end up with a 20% to 30% market share. I sketched that out and I think the asymptote is somewhere around 130 trillion, but only maybe 100 trillion would be cryptocurrency and 20% of that would be Bitcoin. However, it would take 10 to 15 years to reach that asymptote. So I'm thinking along the way we are going to see Bitcoin at 250,000 by 2022. I also look at Bitcoin as a network effect. For instance, if I have Bitcoin and no one else does, then it's worthless. But if I have Bitcoin and you have Bitcoin and we both recognize that, then we have one connection. Then the connection grows. It's the square of how many nodes are in the network. Right now there are about 40 million Bitcoin wallets. I think that this number will continue to grow and the value of Bitcoin will be determined by the square of that. Wolfson: do you really think that fiat currency will disappear entirely? Draper: I think that in the future, fiat will resemble carrying around change. For example, I think we all get to the point where we will all go buy coffee with fiat and the barista will look at us we're crazy. I also think that soon we will be able to buy coffee and other things with Bitcoin, Ether, Bitcoin Cash, or any other number of other cryptocurrencies on our phone. Wolfson: what made you decide to invest in Bitcoin back in 2014? Draper: I decided to invest in Bitcoin in 2014 after a friend of mine told me in 2004 about a game in Korea. I decided to invest in Bitcoin in 2014 after a friend of mine told me in 2004 about a game in Korea that everyone was playing. I think the game was called Legend. The game was a big deal at the time and it struck me we were living in this virtual world. My friend told me that he was buying his son a virtual sword with fiat currency to advance in these video games. This made me think that we could have a whole economy based on the virtual world. Bitcoin then came along and I knew it was a huge opportunity. I ended up backing one of my first Bitcoin companies called CoinLab. I invested in the company to get Bitcoin. However, the company ended up making an ASIC to mine the coin so we could get it for much cheaper. Bitcoin went from $6 to 36 at the time. We mined the Bitcoin and then stored it at MT, Gox, which at the time was one of the biggest Bitcoin exchanges in the world. Then of course MT Gox disappeared and we all lost all of the Bitcoin. I thought that was the end of it, but Bitcoin dropped only by 15% following that news, and then went up the next day. I thought, wow, the biggest exchange just collapsed and then kept going. This made me realize that the world really needs Bitcoin. I then jumped at the opportunity to buy Bitcoin that had been confiscated from the people behind the Silk Road from the US Marshal's office. There were about 19 bidders total, and most of them wanted to bid below market, but I bid above the market and got the entire 9 lots of Bitcoin. Bitcoin was worth $632 when I bought it, and it slid straight down to 180. Following this, I made my prediction that Bitcoin would hit 10,000 in 3 years, and somehow we hit 10,000 mark in the 3 years. Exactly on the number. And suddenly, I was the visionary. Rachel Wolfson. You've been quoted as saying blockchain technology is the next internet. Is this true? Tim Draper. Blockchain technology is actually much bigger than the internet. While the internet did impact the world economy, blockchain technology has the potential to transform industries that have historically been government regulated because they are so big. For example, banking, real estate, insurance, venture capital, healthcare, and the government itself can all be completely transformed by blockchain because it is the perfect ledger. The blockchain serves as a trusted third party that we all go to for security and safety. Personally, I feel much safer with my Bitcoin than I do with my fiat currency in Wells Fargo. Rachel Wolfson. Do you have any advice for people looking to get started with cryptocurrency? Tim Draper. The way I look at getting started with cryptocurrency is to get involved at a little at a time. I'd suggest purchasing a small amount of cryptocurrency on Coinbase or to put some crypto on a ledger. A ledger is a hardware wallet, so if you are worried about someone taking your cryptocurrency, you can put it there. It's amazing that all you need now is a USB port and you are able to hold your money in your own hands. Draper, an early supporter of Bitcoin and its underlying blockchain financial ledger technology, told Reuters in an interview that he will, for the first time, participate in the so-called initial coin offering of Tezos slated later this month. Tezos, a new blockchain platform launched by a husband and wife team with extensive Wall Street and hedge fund backgrounds, will launch in the ICO on May 22nd. Draper will also invest in the US-based Dynamic Ledger Solutions Inc., the creator of Tezos, but did not disclose details. Draper, who scored big as an early backer of Skype and Baidu, becomes the first prominent venture capitalist to openly embrace initial coin offerings. This would be a significant stamp of approval for this new financing mode of blockchain and startups. Over the last year, blockchain startups have been raising cash by creating and selling their own currencies or tokens in unregulated offerings that bypass banks or venture capital firms as intermediaries. Interest in these deals have been stoked by the runaway performance of the original cybercurrency, which has surged more than 67% in the last 6 weeks to hit a record high. The best thing I can do is lead by example, said Draper on his plan to participate in Tezos token offering. Over time, I actually feel that some of these tokens are going to improve the world, and I want to make sure those tokens get promoted as well. Most traditional venture capital firms are prohibited by agreements with investors from deploying cash into such high-risk assets as digital currencies, but Draper said that the contract terms with his investors allow investing in pretty much any vehicle. I think most investors' contracts did not anticipate something like an ICO, said Draper, but we did anticipate that certain things are going to happen and finance is going to be transformed. Draper said his firm has especially carved out money for non-traditional investments. Tezos is similar to Bitcoin and other blockchain platforms, but its design allows for decentralized and automated upgrades. Most software platforms provide for automated updates, but blockchains remain notable exceptions because update procedures are typically centralized. Tezos touts itself as the first blockchain platform to overcome that hurdle. Tezos was created over a span of 3 years by Kathleen and Arthur Breitman. Arthur Breitman had worked at a high-frequency trading desk at Goldman Sachs and was an options market maker at Morgan Stanley, while Kathleen Brittman is a former management associate at Bridgewater Associates. Unlike previous ICOs, Kathleen Brittman said Tezos deal would not be capped by a set number of tokens to be created. What we're going to do is allow as many people who want to buy into crowd sale over a 2-week period, she said. That is all for today, folks. Would you like to add anything to this list? Let us know in the comments section. And if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you in the next video.